What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com, and I'm excited to talk about today's topic, which is going to be all about recovery and sleep, because there's plays such an importance to just not only aiding yourself when it comes to seeing way more success on your health and fitness journey, but also at the same time, just improving your overall health. Let's dive in. As we dive into today's topic, talking all about recovery, I want you to keep in mind just putting yourself, right, as an example, as you're going through today's presentation of what areas of my life can I start to focus on and start to implement just some small little adjustments here and there just to help me with recovery, right? So that way, guess what? You're getting one step closer to your health and fitness goals. Here is exactly what we're going to be going over in today's episode. First off, why recovery is important. Second, recovery recommendations. And lastly, just tips, some advice, to most importantly, giving you, in my opinion, right, one of the most valuable lessons in terms of recovery, in terms of stress, in terms of just the biggest needle mover to help you have success in your goals. Now listen when I say this, okay? If we had to break up the 7 essential fat loss habits that we go over at Heartletics, right, which is number 1, calories, specifically for your body type, your goals. Same thing with the macros. Then we have strength training. Then we have the NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So just moving around more, being more active, right? The 5th habit is hydration, drinking plenty of water. But the 6th and the 7th habit, this is honestly like the foundation. Like, you need to really get this under control, because once again, if you're focusing on crushing it in the gym with the workouts and you're dialed in with the nutrition, everything's on point, but you have, let's say, a whole bunch of stress and, spike in your cortisol levels, it's going to be virtually impossible for you to reach your health and fitness goals. Same thing with the recovery. So the recovery aspect is as a whole, right? So that's sleep, that's, active recovery, that's stress, that's also proper nutrition, everything like that, right? You're recovering, you're making sure that as you're crushing your workouts, crushing nutrition, everything like that, you're taking some time to make sure that you're coming back and showing up each and every day, right? 210%. And that means that at certain times, you have to focus on the recovery aspect, which is very, very valuable. Because remember, if you're not focusing on that, at the end of the day, you could be just sabotaging yourself from seeing the results that you're after. So that's why understanding that recovery and stress, very, very important. And when I did the deep dive going over stress and stress management tips and different aspects of that, remember, stress is not just, arguments with your spouse, or, you don't like your boss, or, you're having a hard time, paying the bills, and that's stressful every time you have to pay the bill. There's so many aspects of stress. So many, right? And this right here is just a small little image, right? In terms of just like stress, and there's emotional stress, financial, social, culture, the list goes on and on and on. Okay. That's why you have to make sure that with most of these habits at Heartletics, it's the awareness, right? Knowledge is power. So you have to understand, right, the importance and the awareness on most of the things that we're going over here. So what happens to your body when you're underneath all this stress, where you got inflammation, you got aches, you're lowering your immune system, having a hard time with breathing, slower metabolism when you're underneath all this stress. Once again, stopping you from having success at, reaching your goals. Then there's also other aspects, right? Like increased, risk of heart disease and heart attacks and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So from that perspective right there, you should instantly be focused on, okay, hey, I shouldn't be mentally, grinding it out 24/7 with the workouts, the nutrition, right? But not focusing on the mental and the emotional side, right? It should be a good balance. And that's why, once again, awareness is everything. You just need to be more aware of stress, recovery, different aspects of that, right? Not just in terms of the output of, okay, hey, what can I do today? Could I try to hit some PRs? Should I try to hit my protein goal? But you should be also looking in terms of your overall health as like, okay, what are the areas of my life where I'm highly stressed or highly worried about and, fearful, whatever the case may be, because maybe you don't know that has a big effect, right, on your body, on your health, is the stress. So it's like, hey, what areas of my life can we start focusing on maybe just making some adjustments. Maybe it's different stress management tips. Maybe it's different things for recovery purposes or whatever the case may be, just to help you when it comes to becoming the best version of yourself. Remember, not just physically, but mentally as well. Now, when it comes to stress, there's good stress and then there's also bad stress as well. So don't think like every situation is horrible and you're instantly spiking your cortisol levels because it's stress. No, there's actually some good stress, you know? Think about it like this. Maybe there was stress on your body because you didn't like the way that you looked, right? In terms of maybe you couldn't fit in your favorite clothes, or maybe you just got out of the shower, you peeped yourself right in the mirror and you're like, oh man, I don't like that, right? So it causes the stress because you're like, I don't like what I see, right? And maybe that, makes you feel like self-conscious or makes you feel bad, whatever the case may be, right? Stress. But then you're deciding to flip the switch and use that stress as a positive to say, okay, cool. Let me start being more active, right? Like, let me start being more, physically fit. Let me start eating better. Once again, right? Like stress, there's good aspects of stress and then there's bad aspects of stress. So I just want to say that real quick before we continue. Now, one of the biggest things that we typically see is that, people are putting themselves underneath all this stress, meaning that maybe it's not the arguments, right, with the spouse. Maybe it's not the, finances or stuff going on at work. Maybe it's the fact that we're just not focusing on the recovery, meaning we're not sleeping enough, because that's a big, huge chunk to this. I mean, honestly, like they did a study, guys that slept on average 8 hours compared to 5 hours had up to like 20% more natural free testosterone. 20%. That's a big, significant amount of testosterone, up to 20% just by sleeping 3 extra hours, But seriously, like sleep, hands down. If you want to improve on your stress, if you want to improve on your recovery overall, if you want to improve in just everything, mental habits, physical habits, you need to prioritize the sleep. You really do. It's a huge component to all of this. And this image right here just goes over the recommended, amount of sleep per day based on just some different ages. Typically what we see for our members is anywhere from that 7 to about 9 hours, somewhere in that sweet spot when it comes to getting a good night's sleep, but obviously making sure that, during that sleep that you're having, that's actually what's aiding you when it comes to lowering your cortisol, lowering your stress, helping you with better sense of recovery as well. So you can see in here some side effects of just missing sleep. And do I mean like one night out of the month, like you had some horrible sleep? Like, no, absolutely not. But if you're constantly getting between, let's say, 4 to maybe 6 hours of sleep, I would be very, very cautious of that in a sense of, okay, there are some serious health concerns here, and you could easily be fixing them or at least improving them by just sleeping more. I mean, think about it. When you're, sleep deprived and you're not getting a good night's sleep, over a course period of time, you're going to be more irritable. Your memory is not going to be so focused, right? You're not going to be so sharp. It's going to be hard, right? Impaired moral judgment as well. Just decreased creativity, increased stress. And obviously, right, that's a huge aspect, right? Once again, to just the overall bigger picture of you becoming the best version of yourself mentally and physically, lowering that stress. And if you're not getting a good night's sleep and that's continuing on, right, over and over and over again, 4 to 6 hours, that's a lot of stress, that you're putting on yourself. There's also several things in here of obviously, impacting your immune system. Type 2 diabetes are at higher risk, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, decreased testosterone levels, as I mentioned, increase the risk of just heart disease and stroke. It's serious. It's very, very serious. I found this image online and I love it. Just going over 20 easy tips, right, for a better sleep. And remember, maybe these tips could help you in a sense of longer sleep. So obviously, if you're getting 5 hours of sleep and you just heard the importance of, let's say, your overall health, testosterone levels, metabolism, by just increasing that to 7, who knows, right? So maybe these tips can just help you with, getting longer sleep, or maybe just the quality of your sleep is just better. So These are just 20 tips that you can easily start implementing. And once again, with anything about creating a habit, it's great to learn the knowledge that, hey, sleep and these different tips can help you out. But remember, it's your lifestyle, right? That's what's going to formulate habits is the knowledge, right? But also mixing it with your lifestyle and what works best. That's the habit that you can stick with long term. So right here it says, set an alarm to go to bed, like a reminder, like, dude, get to sleep, turn off the lights. Then there is, resist the urge to snooze, keeping your bedroom nice and dark, turning off devices, cutting out caffeine. Maybe that's around like 1, 2, 3 p.m. max, right? So that way you can make sure that once again, the caffeine, it's not making you feel all alert and keeping you up late at night. Exercising regularly. This one I actually disagree with. It says ban pets from the bed. My dog sleeps with me and my wife. My little dog keeps me warm because I'm a freeze baby. I'm living in Ohio, so like think about it, it's always cold pretty much. So I disagree with that one, but let's continue on, right? So make sure that the mattress, fits. That's actually like a good one. It's just, I would say, make sure that your bed is actually made. Think about it. If you're going to sleep and it's just a messy bed, there's clothes and just, all over the place and just whatever, right? It doesn't really help with sleeping better. But on the flip side, like think about it, man. You go to someone, maybe a hotel or something like that, and what do you see? You instantly see like this nice bed it's made all neat, and guess what? Like typically, like right there, like oh man, I'm probably just gonna pass out, because there's something about that. And so give it a try. Who knows? Maybe that can help you out. Avoiding heavy meals when it's late. So obviously, this is the importance of making sure that you're eating properly throughout the course of the day. You don't. I know a lot of people out there, they're like, oh man, I'm not going to eat anything all day because calories in versus calories out. But then like right before they go to sleep, they just are a garbage disposal and they're shoving everything. Like it doesn't help with sleep, okay? That's why it's making sure that you do the right things, right? The habits that work best for you, but also it's the proper habits. Reducing, the alcohol consumption. This says nap wisely. It's hit or miss. When I have the luxury of taking a nap, like maybe on the weekend, if I can find 30 minutes to do so, hey, sometimes like that helps me sleep better at night, and other times it doesn't. So I would say, use that one with some give or take. I love this one about, taking deep breaths. And in parentheses, it says meditate. Because remember, meditation is not, like a Buddhist monk or anything like that. No, meditation is just focusing on the present moment. So this right here says, take deep breaths. Well, what do I always say about meditation? It's, hey, you're not worried about, the drama and the, scarcity and, all the negativity on the news. Hey, you're not worried about, what's going on at work. Hey, you're not worried about this and fear of the future and the past and regret. It's like, no, you're just focusing on the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Try it. Aromatherapy, obviously maybe getting some candles or some kind of scents to make you just maybe smell better, Writing down what bugs you, I personally like that one a lot. And I think that's a great thing because so many times people go to sleep at night with a lot on their mind. And it's like, what if you just take out a pen and paper, maybe a gratitude journal, something like that, and you just like wrote out how you were feeling. Just get it off, your head. This says, get checked for sleep apnea. Obviously if you feel like that is, for you specifically, then yeah, go talk and consult with your doctor. This says take a hot bath, combat snoring, paint your room tranquil color. I'm not saying you need to do that by any means, but who knows? Maybe that helps. Try a new pillow. Avoid drinking too many liquids before bedtime. This little cheat sheet should definitely help you out as well when it comes to just optimizing your training recovery. So for starters, sleep. Like that's always, when you hear me talk about recovery, it's majority always going to be sleep. Sleep, 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 sleep. That's the easiest. That's the best way. That's the most important way, right? To focus on recovery is sleep. But then other aspects in there in terms of like, it says here, don't overtrain. Now, in my opinion, I don't think people are overtraining, right? I would say if you're working out 6 days a week and doing 2-a-days, you're overtraining, and that's kind of like what I was doing back when I was, doing boxing and mixed martial arts and, kickboxing and all these different, MMA tournaments and fights. It's like, hey, I'm training for a specific reason. I know for a fact that my body was not recovering properly because it wasn't a priority to me, But overtraining is a grind, right? And like I said, 2 days, 2 days, 6 days a week, that right there is overtraining. Exercising maybe 30 to 60 minutes, even every single day, that's not overtraining at all. So don't think in terms of that. The third one on here is making sure that you're eating enough calories. Remember, people think it's calories in versus calories out. It's not by any means. You got to make sure that you're having enough proteins and carbs to just help with recovery, when it comes to your training session. But most importantly, it's not just about the macros, it's about the overall bigger picture, calories. Because if somebody is, let's say, 200 pounds and they're consuming 1,000-calorie diet, well, they could have 1,000 calories all on protein, right? And that's it. Like no carbs, no fats. But they're still like not getting enough sufficient amount of calories to actually help them with recovery. Then we have, have frequent deloads. And I love this one, honestly. I don't think, deload weeks, they don't get enough praise as they often should. So first off, what is a deload? And that means, especially if you're in the gym, right, doing heavy compound lifts, like having a deload, I don't know, anywhere from, let's say, 12 weeks of training to maybe 20 weeks of training, somewhere in there where you're consistently going to the gym, working out, focusing on progressive overload. Once again, the heavy compound lifts, so squats, deadlifts, bench press, different aspects of that. I would definitely recommend a deload, once again, every 12 to 20 weeks. And that could be 1 week or that could be 2 weeks. And how to do that properly, just so you know, is making sure that, hey, we're still showing up to the gym. And obviously, hey, maybe not going to the gym as often, right? Maybe it's 3 days out of that week or 4 days, whatever the case may be. But regardless, for those workouts, that deload, you're typically using anywhere from, I would say 30 to 50% lighter weight and typically doing a little bit more reps rather than, focusing on less reps with heavier weight. Because remember, you still want to go through the range of motion. You still want to have the mind-muscle connection. You still want to have the right habits, right? You don't want to take a whole week off from going to the gym or whole 2 weeks off because it's going to be really hard to start right back up again. But showing up, using, lighter weights than normal, maybe doing higher repetitions, just going through like those aspects, maybe focusing on your form a little bit more, but you're really not really breaking a sweat. That helps out big time. And typically after a week or two of doing a deload, when you come back to, regularly lifting heavy and going through your normal scheduled, workouts, you're typically like a lot stronger too. So that's when most of our members start to see like, hitting bigger PR goals, different aspects of that, right? And then the last one is, do relaxing activities. So I think the most, in my opinion, right, relaxing activity, at least for me, because I'm biased of this, is just going for a walk. That's it. Going for a walk either with my family, playing with my son, just around the house, whether roughhousing and wrestling around, whatever the case may be. Just going to the park and sitting there, being outside in nature. Who knows? Maybe that's for you, yoga. Maybe that's a nice little drive also. But whatever the case may be, do relaxing activities. That's it. So to recap, we went over 3 things. The first one is obviously, hey, the importance of recovery. Remember, when I say recovery, I want you to think about sleep mainly. But at the same time, I want you to think about stress management because they kind of go hand in hand. And you have to understand that, right? When you're focusing on less stress, obviously you can improve the quality of sleep. When you improve the quality of your sleep, you're obviously lowering your cortisol levels down, right? And that means you're helping out with the stress management. So they go hand in hand. But it's 2 very important habits to, once again, bring a greater awareness to yourself about. Then we went over some different recommendations for recovery. And then obviously just some tips, some advice to really making sure that, once again, right, the sleep, the recovery, it's a huge aspect to you showing up and getting to your health and fitness goals. Because at the end of the day, if somebody is, let's say, dialed in with their nutrition, dialed in with their training, but if they're underneath all this stress and not recovering properly and they're not sleeping, think about it. You are literally kind of just spinning your wheels at this point. You're showing up, you're putting in the work. I think that's great. You're getting nutrition dialed in. I think that's great. But most importantly, you are holding yourself back because that stress, sleep, recovery, it is a huge foundation to you having success at reaching your goals once and for all. So just keep that in mind, right? Like really make sure that you're focusing on the right physical habits, but also the right mental habits that's going to help you with having success. Hopefully you guys got some value from today's episode and learned a little thing or two about the importance of recovery. Keep in mind, these simple things that we go over at Heartletics, right? In terms of, the 7, fat loss habits, but at the same time, the 7 mindset habits, this is pretty simple, right? Hey, focus on just more awareness of the stress. Hey, focus on maybe getting more sleep in. Hey, let's move around a little bit more. Let's eat a little bit more protein. Let's be active, and drink some water. Think about that. Easy habits for the physical. For the mindset, right? Hey, let's focus on some gratitude, right? Let's focus on quality time with our loved ones. Hey, let's focus on just how do we, once again, embrace and step outside of our comfort zone. That way we can push ourselves and also just have that greater sense of alignment, knowing, hey, we're here to make a difference, Once again, it sometimes could be hard, but most of the time, it's simple stuff. It's just, you really need some guidance. You really need just people in the corner holding you accountable, making sure that you're showing up each and every day to become the best version of yourself mentally and physically. But nonetheless, don't get, confused or make this way overcomplicated when it comes to reaching your health and fitness goals. It's all about the habits. That's it. And once you have the right habits, that's obviously, in alignment with your health and fitness goals, and at the same time, it's personalized for you and your overall lifestyle, easy, right? Very easy to have success at reaching your health and fitness goals. Guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com. And as always, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.